So the season is over for the Bulls, guys. I know some of you will say, dude, this series isn't over quite yet. There's still a chance, isn't there? Yeah, no, not with the way the Bulls are playing. Also, you're not going to win the next 3 games straight, 2 of which are going to be in Milwaukee. It's not going to happen. There's just no way the Bucks would blow a 3-1 series lead like that. So here we are. The Bulls lose back-to-back at home after having that incredible Game 2 win, which they took home court advantage. The guys were riding high with tons of confidence, all that effort and energy they were putting into the game. The momentum was trending in their direction. The Bucks weren't playing well, missing a ton of shots. The Bulls were playing lockdown defense, and you would think coming home would be a push that would give the Bulls an advantage, especially with Chris Middleton being out of the lineup. But no, the Bulls come in and lay eggs in both games 3 and 4. Now, you guys know me, I try and keep things as objective as possible in the way I assess the team and the games being played, but of course I'm going to have my biases, and I'll always try and look at the positives of a particular game, but I really can't see much that you can say from this one that was a positive in any form. Like really, this was a horrible effort from the Bulls in a must-win game and fighting for their season. Like with Game 3, an atrocious game for the Bulls, but at least in that game, you kind of expected the Bucks would come out in desperation mode. You would have expected them to come out really hungry after having a bad loss in Game 2 and losing one of their better players. Like, that's what champions do. You take challenges head on and fight through adversity. But after having such an embarrassing loss in front of your home crowd, their first home playoff game in 5 years, you would expect the Bulls to come out in Game 4 fighting for their lives, playing some of their absolute best basketball, recognizing we fell asleep in the last one, got punched in the face, and we're going to come right back and counter them with a right hook. I think that's the thing that bothered me the most from this game. It's the fact that the Bulls gave such a mediocre effort after having such a bad loss in Game 3, and also knowing that if you lose Game 4, this series is over. And yes, I get it, this is the Milwaukee Bucks, like it's easier said than done to pound this team, a team that won the title last year, and having a guy like Giannis that just cannot be stopped. Like, yeah, maybe it's asking a lot to want from the Bulls to go out and beat up a team like the Bucks, but at least some effort would be nice. Like, how do you not give it your all when you're down 2-1 in a series? How do you miss so many shots? How do you fall asleep on defense on so many possessions when reading the pick and roll and going on switches? Why are we just jacking up so many threes and not driving to the basket? Like, how does that happen? And for all intents and purposes, an elimination game. Now, the last one, I get to the extent, like, it's hard to create dribble drive penetration against a team like the Bucks that is such a good defensive team in the paint and has so much size, but come on now. Settling for so many jumpers, just like in the last game, which clearly didn't work. I mean, I don't know how many times I've have to say it in the numerous videos that I've made this season. The Bulls playing ISO ball and just throwing up a bunch of outside shots does not work. This team is significantly more effective when they're moving the ball in a pace and space style of offense, running plays in transition, players moving and cutting to the basket. It's what made them so effective in Game 2, and of course, their defense in that game helped. But how is it that this team just continues to revert back to their old ways that has proven to be unsuccessful? Now, of course, we did get the other piece of unfortunate news that Alex Caruso, after getting hit in the face pretty hard on a foul, had to be taken out and did not return to the game, which is a pretty big blow for the Bulls. Not sure what it means for his status in Game 5, but when you lose a guy like Caruso, who has been so critical to the defense as well as their engine in running the floor and pace on offense, and the Bulls have to go with a rookie in Iowa to replace him, who hasn't gotten many minutes this series, that's going to impact the game, no question. But again, it still doesn't excuse the Bulls' effort. The Bulls shot 39% from the field compared to the Bucks' 52%. The Bulls shot a horrible 25% from 3, 9 for 36. Why were they taking so many threes with all of the misses is just beyond me, especially when the Bulls were barely able to get offensive rebounds for second chance opportunities. And the Bucks, 51% from 3, 17 for 33. You let a team put up 17 three-pointers in a must-win game. That's inexcusable. How are you letting Grayson Allen give the Bucks 27 points off of the bench, shooting 6 for 7 from 3 after he shot lights out in Game 3? Like, how is there not a game plan to ensure that he's being hounded at all times, regardless of what is happening in the paint? How are you going to give Drew Holiday so much space to allow him to go 5 for 8 from 3? Sorry, guys. I don't know with this team anymore. The inconsistent play that really we have seen all season is something I'll just never understand. And it's the lack of effort in these types of big moments, dare I say it, the softness that comes from this team in these big moments is really disappointing to me as a fan. DeMar DeRozan, not the best outing for him. Like, he had 23 points, Lavine had 24, but both of them went on long droughts in this game where they didn't score for over 14 minutes. Lavine started out super hot in the first quarter where you thought he might go off in this game, but then got really quiet until halfway through the third. He finished the game shooting 8 for 18, 2 for 6 from 3. What was impressive about Lavine tonight actually was the fact that he was the Bulls' main distributor with Caruso being out. He had 13 assists, which I feel like has got to be a career high for him, playoffs and regular season, but I could be wrong in that regard. And I would say Lavine actually had a better game than DeMar did tonight, even though Lavine really didn't show up well when the Bulls needed him in that second quarter when the Bucks went on that run and never looked back. But for DeMar, another minus 24 in box plus minus, 8 for 20 shooting, 0 for 5 from 3. Not sure why he took that many threes in a game like this. 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. And the X factor tonight, well, I always call the X factor, Vucevic came out flat, completely flat. 11 points, 5 for 14 shooting, 1 for 6 from 3, and I can't tell you how many times I shouted at the TV for him to stop taking so many threes. He's just so much more effective in the paint going against Brook Lopez down low. 10 rebounds for Vucevic, but yet again, he was getting worked on the boards by both Portis and Giannis. And actually, I take it back because there was something a little positive from this game, and that was with Patrick Williams. You know, Patrick, after having a horrible game in Game 3 in which he went 0 for 9 tonight, he was much more effective. He was being more aggressive in getting to the basket and fighting for rebounds. He scored 20 points tonight, was 7 for 13 from the field, was even decent from outside, going 3 for 6, and he also had 10 rebounds and no turnovers. His defense wasn't as good as we're used to seeing, though. Giannis was really bullying him most of this game, but he was really bullying everyone. But I like seeing the bounce back from Patrick after having a really lousy Game 3. It shows good poise to come back and not lose that confidence, but learn from it and keep battling to get better and have a better game. So that was good to see. Outside of that, though, really there wasn't much else that you can take away from this game in a positive light. Like I said, the Bulls shot themselves out of the game. They blew 2 home games, both bad losses that were more or less non-competitive. It was great when the Bulls did make that comeback in the third quarter and cut the game to single digits, but it was short-lived until Giannis was brought back into the game. We lost Caruso, we couldn't defend, and the Bucks couldn't miss their shots. I don't know, maybe we got ahead of ourselves in those first 2 games thinking the Bulls were hanging there right with the champs, but really the Bucks were just not playing well because they were missing so many shots, and that was the difference maker. Game 5 isn't until Wednesday night, so a lot of time off for the Bulls to get their heads right, regroup, and figure out what the heck is going on. The Bulls aren't going to win this series, but if they can at least make it interesting by winning Game 5 and bringing it back to Chicago, or at least making it competitive to where it's not an embarrassing loss, that's all that people are going to remember is that the Bulls won a game and then flat out got embarrassed in the next 3 to get blown out of the series. That would be nice if they can at least do that and make it a competitive game. Anyway, guys, I'll see what kind of content I can put out this week leading up to Game 5. You guys know I'm expecting a maybe any day now, but until then, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.